Welcome to another episode of Navigating the Rise. So today I am actually going to describe 7 different ways of saying the same thing in Korean. So if people don't know, there are actually 7 different levels of speech when it comes to Korean language. So they're broken into 3 big categories. The first one is being very polite. Second category is being neutral. And the third category is being very casual. And the reason that matters is to be more polite to people who are older than you and less polite to people who are younger than you. And that hierarchy is actually very important within the Korean culture. So let's go about and first look at all of them from high to low. So within the high category, there are 2 of them. The first one I'm going to use for the purpose of this demonstration is I love you. So I love you, the root word is 사랑하다, right? So from that perspective, now using that word, you can tell where it all falls within each of the 7 ways of saying it. So the first way is, it's very archaic, people never use that anymore, but it used to be addressed to the kings and queens. It's called, so what you would do when you say I love you is 사랑하옵니다. So 사랑하옵니다. So that basically says I love you, but only addressed it to like people who are kings and queens. So not really used anymore. You probably still see it in the movies, historical dramas, but for the most part, it's not being used. Second, it's still in a high level that's commonly being used right now is where you address people who are very strangers or even TV announcers are doing it, or even like customers, you address them from a clerk's perspective. So that's basically, you will address it as 사랑합니다. So with the Mnida at the end for that specific. Now let's go on to the next one. The next one is basically more focused on the middle part. So the neutral persona. Within that, there's only 3 way of saying it as well. So let's go down by hierarchy from the politeness level. So first, within the neutral one, we have the one that is very casually polite. We will say 사랑해요. So 사랑해요 is a very neutral, very safe choice to use against anyone. If you're not sure, it can be used against strangers, colleagues, people you're just not that close to, but it's still acceptable. People will not fault you for it. The next one, where basically it's not really polite, it's not really. What happened is is an old saying. I've heard that North Korean still uses this nowadays, where they say 사랑해요. So they just basically add the yo at the end, or 사랑하오. 사랑하오. So basically instead of yo, it adds a o at the end. So from that, where basically it's usually happens when historical dramas, it's not really being used that much anymore. People don't say 사랑해요, so that has been more in the past. So the next is the third one within the neutral category, where basically it's very common across adult male friends or people who are a bit older. People are in the older generations. So probably in a couple generations, you probably will not hear this anymore for a while. So basically, it will say I love you in a way of 사랑하네. 사랑하네 as a way of describing love. And then the next one is the lower categories. So in that category, you're basically speaking specific people who are younger, or even less polite, or even intimate settings, right? So the first one is it's less used, but it's more used in some of the colloquial and the book where they will say 사랑한다. So you add n and then at the end, and so to actually make it seems like a bit casual, but not too casual in the fact that you still respect them. So it's kind of more common in books as opposed to in everyday speech. And the last one is basically you will say it in this way, or where basically it says 사랑해, 사랑해. So that one is focused on the casual speech. So this casual speech is basically you talk to people who are very intimate with you, even to children, right? People who are lower ranked than you, either social status or in other type of hierarchy in that setting. So those are the 7 ways. We can see that it's breaking down by 3 main groups: the high, politeness, neutral, and low. So for the sake of a common person, there's only 3 you need to know, which is the 3 types are 사랑합니다, 사랑해요, and 사랑해. So those are 3 ones that's commonly used, and use it accordingly. Now, if you're even more of a person who doesn't want to remember all 3, then there's only one you can remember to be safe. That's the safest choice, which is 사랑해요. So that one is probably the safest if you're going to forget everything else about different hierarchies. So again, this is the 7 ways of saying I love you in Korean, and be careful of the hierarchies. So if you like this episode, definitely subscribe, and look forward to hearing from you, engaging with you for future episodes.